of August 2024. I have Councillor Carmichael, Councillor Chalmers, Councillor Ross Clark, Councillor Devlin, Councillor Dewar, Councillor Mary Donnelly, Councillor Alan Faulkner, Councillor Chalene Handybod, Councillor Horn, Councillor Hosey, Councillor Dempsey. I don't have Councillor Wiley-Keat. Thank you. I have Councillor McCreary, Councillor Leslie MacDonald. I don't have Councillor Mark McGeever. Don't have Councillor Davy McLaughlin. Thank you. I don't have Councillor Nelson. I have Councillor Isaac, Councillor John Ross, Councillor Bert Thompson and Councillor Toner. With that, I'll hand over to the Chair. Thank you.
Thanks, Lynn. Item 1, declaration of interest. Do we have any declaration of interests? Councillor MacDonald.
Thank you. Agenda item 4, Community Development Report. There was money given to the Mackin Trust, and I'm the chair of the Mackin Trust. And community grant applications. Item 5 is Larkhall Burns Club, of which I am a member.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks very much for that, Councillor. Any other declarations of interest? Okay. We'll move on to item 2, minutes of the previous meeting. Minutes are submitted for approval.
Agreed.
Agreed? Agreed. Councillor Donnelly. Item 3, items for noting. We've now got a local policing update from police officers Willie Falls and Neil Smith.
Thank you very much, Councillor. As mentioned, I'm Willie Falls, the local area inspector for Hamilton, and Chief Inspector Neil Smith, the local area commander for the Hamilton area. I'm just going to give you a brief overview of the policing update for the last year. If we can bring the slides up, please. Thank you very much. Just next slide, please. And again. We're currently halfway through our local policing plan period for Lanarkshire, with our priorities continuing under the headers of protecting our communities, safeguarding our citizens and enhancing our service. Next slide, please. Collaborative working with our partners remains key to protecting the communities and tackling violent and antisocial crime. We continue to liaise with the partners, sharing information to increase the opportunity for disruption, prevention and bringing offenders to justice. Youth disorder is tackled robustly by our officers, and we work closely with schools, housing, South Lanarkshire Council and anti-social investigation teams, social work and community mental health to ensure that a holistic approach is taken to identifying and resolving highlighted issues. Regular feedback from our elected members also plays a huge part in providing that level of reassurance by allowing third-party reporting and advice to be provided to members of our community that don't immediately utilise the police as their first point of contact. Ongoing issues are continually reviewed by our Community Safety Hub meetings, which are weekly meetings between ourselves, partners in local authority housing, anti-social investigation teams and Scottish Fire and Rescue Service. Collectively, we identify problematic tenants and areas of concern for joint tasking in order to mitigate issues and improve the quality of life for people in our communities. Analytics also play an important part in our efforts to focus our attention on specific areas. Monthly tasking meetings ensure this information is continually updated, allowing us not only to rely on the overarching divisional violence reduction and nighttime economy plans, but to create specific plans to tackle identified problems. There are currently several of these plans in operation. One of the main initiatives between Police Scotland and the British Transport Police ran over the school holidays and concluded last weekend. This was implemented to reduce antisocial behaviour that had been identified within the transport hubs across Hamilton and Blantyre. The plan was very successful, reducing antisocial behaviour at these locations to extremely low levels. Our analytical figures show that there has been a 73% reduction in youth disorder calls in Bodwell and Uddingston and a 48% reduction in Blantyre from the period January to June 2023 to 2024. Next slide, please. Collaborative working is not exclusively reserved for tackling violent and antisocial crimes. It is also utilised to identify and assist the most vulnerable members of our community. I recently chaired a multi-agency support meeting to identify and implement the appropriate mechanisms to support a tenant who was regularly coming to the attention of police and the antisocial investigation team. It was identified that the individual was suffering from significant mental health issues, causing his behaviour to deteriorate and thereafter affect his neighbours. By working closely together with the hub partners, a plan has now been established to provide a more effective resolution based on the causal factors rather than merely dealing with the criminal and antisocial elements of his resultant behaviour. We regularly attend adult support and protection meetings to lend expertise and opinion to ongoing cases, ensuring that people are provided with the level of support and assistance to help in the best way possible. A draft initiative is currently being reviewed that will refine our approach to bogus workers and fraud. This is being led by the Priority Policing Team in conjunction with our Community Policing Department and will be ready to be implemented soon after review. Young people within our communities can sometimes be unfairly stereotyped and can become involved in antisocial behaviour through a lack of guidance and direction. And we do our best to engage directly, but sometimes the uniform can be a barrier. So we rely heavily on the work undertaken by third sector partners in youth and community projects like Terminal 1 in Blantyre. We link in through local community officers and the problem-solving meetings, and Joanne at the project works tirelessly to support the young people who attend, and her work is invaluable. The 2024 Open Day at the David Livingstone Centre and Pride events recently have taken place, which have been hugely successful from a standpoint of removing these barriers, allowing direct interaction with representatives of our community and strengthening our relationships. Next slide, please. Linking our efforts to tackle serious and organised crime and reduce substance-induced harm, the local community policing teams work closely with the Priority Policing Team, supported by the Divisional Proactive Crime Team, in targeting and subsequently reducing the impact that drugs have within our communities. Intelligence gathering and community reporting has resulted in proactive operations and initiatives being actioned, resulting in significant returns. A warrant was recently executed in the Hamilton area, resulting in over £245,000 worth of cannabis being recovered from an established cultivation. Several other high-profile recoveries have been made throughout the year, demonstrating our ongoing work to target the supply network as well as focus on persons responsible for supplying the drugs directly within our communities. Next slide, please. As well as the focus on drugs and substance abuse, our Priority Policing Team and community teams deal with acquisitive crime. We are aware of the significant impact acquisitive crime can have, whether the victim is a person or a business. Community teams work closely with the Retailers Against Crime group and utilising an extensive intelligence network. We have identified several high-profile offenders for shoplifting offences in recent months, resulting in custodial sentences. Rural communities have also been targeted, with quad bikes and other farm machinery being stolen or damaged. And we continue to reassure members of the rural community that work is underway locally and nationally to identify the groups responsible and bring them to justice. A local man was identified and charged with several of these offences earlier this year. Our community policing and community safety teams continue to publicise our ongoing efforts and successes via local engagement, mainstream and social media, to provide reassurance to our communities that we continue to work hard for them. Next slide, please. Public protection is a wide-ranging effort to protect our community's most vulnerable members. Several specialist departments exist under this banner, working closely with local policing, including the Community Policing Department, to ensure the required safeguarding measures and specialist assistance is made available when required. Regular meetings take place between internal and external partners when specific vulnerabilities are identified by reported crime or indeed referral. Specific mechanisms are in place to support adults and children, depending on the level required. Next slide, please. Campus officers are another asset we have for tackling youth disorder and supporting young people within the communities who I mentioned earlier can be marginalised. Campus officers, assisted by community policing team members, are responsible for delivering messages and advice on topics such as online safety, substance abuse and road safety, as well as preventative and diversionary strategies. They are also well placed to provide reports on concerns of offending, mental health, behavioural and parental issues, ensuring the relevant support as provided. Next slide, please. On road safety, there is an overarching national road safety strategy in place, which again follows methods of prevention, detection and enforcement. We support this plan locally by identifying specific areas of concern and utilising trained community police officers to enforce speeding offences and congestion and inconsiderate parking outside of schools. This is in conjunction with education and information initiatives. Community policing team officers engage with partners in South Lanarkshire Council regarding signage and road engineering and are in regular contact with elected members to try and deal with highlighted issues throughout the subdivision. Local car meets can cause problems for businesses and residents alike, and these issues are encompassed in our specific planning and tasking efforts. For example, recently the Hamilton Golf Course area and Hamilton Palace grounds. We are actively responding also to information concerning speeding offences being committed within the Silverton Hill and Quarter areas with increased presence and speed detection operations. Local policing also liaise closely with the Road Policing Department based at Motherwell Police Office, and they assist whenever they can with specific requests, but also routinely patrol the locality, targeting driving offences and increasing road safety. Linking youth disorder and road safety, we have now received equipment to have approved training courses for 4 of the Hamilton and Blantyre community officers to receive training on the quad bikes, which will allow us to increase our reach when addressing highlighted issues in the more rural areas and parkland within the communities. Next slide, please.
Thank
Over the last year to enhance our service has focused on driving internal improvements by investing in leadership, strategy input and events, along with taking part in multi-agency exercises on major incident response, and by continuing to build strong partner relationships, both internally and externally. We are developing our organisational capability to work more effectively, efficiently and do everything we can. Sorry, did we have any idea where I got to? We'll cover that last paragraph in the slide. Yeah, that's fine. So our work over the last year to enhance our service has focused on driving internal improvements by investing in leadership, strategy inputs and events, along with taking part in multi-agency exercises based on major incident response. By continuing to build strong partner relationships, both internally and externally, we are developing our organisational capability to work more effectively, efficiently and do everything we can to better serve our communities. Next slide, please. And that's the presentation complete. Just looking to see if there's anyone with any questions at all.
Right. Thanks very much for that, Inspector. Have we any questions? Councillor Donnelly. Your mic's not on.
That's it. Sorry about that. I'm the councillor for Udston, Hill House and Ernock, and an email has come to me saying that speed warning signals located at the junction Davington Avenue is routinely ignored by drivers, and this immediately precedes the patrolled crossing where children are supposed to be able to use the crossing safely. Can you investigate that, please?
Absolutely, Councillor.
Thank you.
Absolutely, Councillor. If you wouldn't mind forwarding that email to my inbox, or alternatively, we have the local elected member surgery coming up on the 4th of September. If you want to wait and highlight it at that meeting, I'm more than happy for that to take place. Whatever you think would be most appropriate. If you can email it today or tomorrow, we'll pick that up by the end of the week.
I'll email it because the schools have just gone back today.
Yep.
And that's my inbox starting to fill up.
Okay, no problem, Councillor. If you just email that across, we'll take care
I'll
of it.
do that.
Thanks very much.
Okay, thanks for that. Councillor Thompson.
Yep, that's you.
Thanks very much, Chair. Thanks very much for that report. Your work is appreciated, I can assure you. You touched on things there I can relate to. In Blantyre, we were a social inclusion partnership. It wasn't a great honour to have, but in that time, we get money spent in the area. We also get 3 extra police and a sergeant. I don't think we'll ever see the days again, but it did make a difference, by the way. There no doubt cops there made a difference, extra sergeant, but most importantly, was the actual police presence, like say for example on bikes, seeing them in that. It was a deterrent and it did work. Surprisingly, I've not got a lot of complaints now about pubs or disorder. It's mostly drugs is a big one. School parking, believe it or not, every surgery, school parking. Can be done, maybe somebody who will do it, I don't know, introduce some bylaw that you just can't park within a certain distance of school. Because that is a big bugbear to people, and I know it takes a lot of resources, so if they just couldn't happen, it'd be a lot better. The other one was, what do you call it? I was going to ask you about was coming to things. Police, I know they try my for the community council, for example, but see anything at all, I know you're tied up, but see just knowing that you come there and you're aware, as they are aware, but church meetings, chapel meetings, anything at all about public interest and a public gathering, it means so much to people in that area, officers. I know you can think of that and you can try and do that. Thanks for that there. Thanks, Chair.
Okay. Chief Inspector.
Mr. Myself off again, sorry. Yep. Yep, okay. No, that's all noted, Councillor, and the points you make are all duly noted. As I say, the issues you raise are issues that come to the police regularly. Myself and Willie, Inspector Falls, have been in post probably just since the turn of the year, so I can absolutely give a commitment that my expectation is that all public meetings will be attended by community police officers. That's my expectation, and I would expect that. In terms of what you raise, obviously my role as area commander is to balance the needs of the emergency calls that the response officers deal with, and then to make sure that the community officers are visible in the community. We do have a finite number of officers. You know, I won't try and pretend otherwise, but my job is to make sure they're allocated and in the right places at the right time. So I'm fully cognizant of all these issues, and we do our best to address them where we can, sir.
Supplementary, Bert? Your mic's not on.
So I'm going tomorrow, my fellow councillor knows that, and I don't know if anybody else attended. But it's ASDA, they apparently an epidemic, they're telling me now, I don't know if you're aware of it, shoplifting, and apparently it's all alcohol. So alcohol is definitely associated with every crime. Are you aware of the problems in ASDA or shoplifting in general? Thanks, Chair, for letting me in there.
In short, yes, we are. ASDA is a particular problem. The Palace Grounds is a particular problem. Willie would be able to give you more information. We've had an action plan running, specifically targeting the Palace Grounds for a number of weeks now, and it is bearing some fruit in terms of results. But we have had an issue with that. The Palace Grounds, the Quarry Street corridor up to the train station and the bus station, so it is an issue that we are well aware of, and as Willie mentioned, we're working in partnership with British Transport Police to try and solve that issue. In terms of the wider issue of shoplifting, it does remain an issue. We do have some issues at the Douglas Park, retail park as well. And again, as Willie mentioned, we have an action plan in place to try and target that. So the short answer is yes, we are aware of the issues with alcohol, and we're trying our best to address it.
Okay, thanks for that. Councillor MacDonald.
Thanks very much. You're covering Blantyre and Hamilton, and there's a couple of councillors here from Larkhall, and I realise we've got a different inspector. Can you give us an update with what's happening? Because obviously Kenny's not here. You know, you're only talking about two particular areas, and I'm concerned that you spoke about campus co-ops, and I'm sure my colleague Ross will agree that recently we've had huge issues at Larkhall Academy. We don't have a campus co-op. You know, we have nothing there. We do have quad bikes. We have, and they still won't let me have a shot in it, but never mind, that's another story. However, you know, the quad bikes are absolutely fantastic. And I would promote that you get as many of them as you possibly can. And I'm delighted that you're getting training organised for your cocks. But that's just Hamilton and Blantyre. You know, Hamilton Area Committee includes Larkhall. So can you give me an update, or is it something we need to ask Kenny for?
In terms of the specifics of Larkhall, Councillor, probably we could take some of your questions off table. In terms of the general update, Kenny and Willie here work extremely closely together under my remit, so You'll find that the update that Kenny will certainly give at the Clydesdale Committee next month will be very similar, because the initiatives will be largely the same. The specific question around about campus cops clearly isn't something we're going to be able to fix. We won't be able to. It's not my gift to love you campus cops. However, you'll be aware of the initiative that Kenny has started with the schools in
Yes.
Clydesdale, and the early signs are that is bearing fruit, and that closer interaction and that closer liaison between the schools and the community police officers, which is what I wanted, and Kenny did it under my direction. That the early indications are that that's bearing fruit, because that is that to me is key. That's how we solve issues. You know, we interact with the schools. We try and it's about prevention. You know, it's about prevention. It's about getting in early. I can certainly guarantee.
Down again.
The right ones or not.
Yes, so I don't know what was picked up there, but certainly the Chief Constable is a great believer in community policing, and I can safely say that. So.
Right again.
Sorry, we're having some technical issues.
Okay.
So as I said, I would be fairly comfortable in saying that I would hope that we can at least maintain, if not bolster, the existing model of community police. I don't think there's any suggestion that we're going to look to reduce that model further. And in terms of interaction with the schools, Kenny's already, at my ask, has taken up this initiative to try and build up the greater communication and liaison, and just to try and get in early. And there's been a couple of incidents, not specifically that call, but we had a lot of problems with Carluke and youth disorder. And the fact that we're in about the schools allowed us to identify those responsible and deal with them appropriately as early as possible, and probably earlier than we would have done previously. So it certainly is bearing fruit. But in terms of specific questions about Clydesdale, it's probably a victim of the fact that our model is slightly different from the council model. So Kenny will go to the Clydesdale one, but isn't here, and I appreciate the fact that that call is covered here, so we can probably take that slightly off table.
A supplementary?
Yes. Appreciate what you're saying, yeah, but we're not in Clydesdale, and I know you understand that as well. It's a bit disconcerting that we're part of Hamilton, and I know it's nothing to do with you, it's how this is all ruled out, but it is a bit annoying that, if you're a councillor in Larkhall, you get nothing. I mean, I hear what you're saying, and I appreciate what you're saying today about Hamilton and Blantyre, but, we're getting missed out because we don't attend Clydesdale Area Committee, nor should we, because it's not in our area. So maybe it's something that could be looked at, that you could include the next time you come along to say, bring Kenny with you by all means. I mean, I'm a regular attender in the police office and have regular meetings with the guys, because if somebody comes and tells me something, don't want to be a snitch, but it's all right for me to do it, and I do, and I pass on whatever information that I possibly can. But I do think you're missing a trick here, because there's there could be, well, there's generally more Larkhall councillors. There's a Larkhall councillor online, so there's 4 in total, and we're getting missed out completely, as I say, because we don't go to Clydesdale.
Yeah. What I would say, Councillor, is you make a very valid point, and I think we can certainly look at that moving forward in terms of the area committees, in terms of that representation, and we'll take it off the table and look at how we solve that, whether Kenny comes to these or whether we get an input from Kenny in terms of the presentation.
That would be
I'll
helpful.
take that on board. What I would say is probably just to be absolutely clear in terms of the language that they're using, you're not getting missed out, you're not forgotten about, you've got Kenny McRobert, I work with Kenny, and I would really push back strongly with the impression that this is great, and that somehow Larkhall suffers from a lack of community police officer representation. Nothing could be further from the truth.
Oh, no,
the only
no.
bit you're lacking is representation at the area committee,
Yes,
and I want to
absolutely.
make that clear for the record.
I mean, the guys are great. I've got a great relationship, whether it's with Kenny or, what's his name, Sergeant, whose name is this? Stuart MacDonald. Imagine forgetting that. I've got a really good relationship with them and the community cops.
Yeah.
So please, there's no criticism of them. It's just here, we're being missed out, shall we
Yeah,
say.
and we can address that moving forward, I think.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks for that. Councillor Carmichael.
Thanks, Chair. Just to follow on from my colleague, Councillor Leslie MacDonald. I'm also a councillor in Larkhall. She's covered quite a few of the points I was going to raise myself, so that saves some time. I would just like to add, you mentioned about the additional training for other officers on the quad bikes, for example, which is most welcome, right? Particularly in the Blantyre and Hamilton area. Can I ask, I was involved initially with the securing of the 4 quad bikes that are based in Larkhall through private funding. Can you confirm to me how many of these quad bikes are operational at the moment? Thank you.
The answer is them all, sir.
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
The answer is they all are. Again, anything that's been said about the quad bikes, although Willie was doing it from a Hamilton perspective, it applies to the quad bikes in Hamilton, Larkhall and Lanark, effectively.
Yes, but am I right in assuming that they're based in Larkhall or not?
Yes.
They are based in Larkhall?
Yeah.
And they're all operational?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. One point I would like to bring up is, for example, last week, and I know that resources are stretched, but my understanding last week when I tried to make contact with the community police, unfortunately they were reallocated elsewhere. And I'm not talking about just in another division. I'm led to believe they were sent to forces down south and possibly elsewhere. Is that correct?
No, that's not correct.
All right. Well, someone's not given me the answers I was looking for because last week I couldn't get anyone. Could you look into that and let me know, please?
I don't need to look into it, sir. I can give you the answer just now. It's no.
It's not. Okay.
That's not how the police work, unfortunately. We don't move our entire community policing department. What was probably happened is that one of the officers in the department has a particular skill set. Police Scotland has a number of officers who were seconded to the PSNI, about 90 officers in total. Now, if one of those officers in the CP at Larkhall was public order trained, he may have been asked to go to the PSNI because of a particular skill set that he's got. But what doesn't happen is we don't move the entire community policing from Larkhall somewhere else. That just doesn't happen.
Okay, thank you for that. Much obliged. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Kenny McCready.
Okay, thanks, Chair. I guess my question's on resourcing. So an incident occurred in Bothwell last month. We had a group of French scouts over for a visit for 2 weeks. And they were camped behind St Bride's, not St Bride's Chapel. There was obviously going to be a bit of a risk for this because they were camped outside, and whilst it's quite a secure area, there was always a chance that people would show an interest in them. However, one of the cops came along at my request and done a security briefing with them, which was very, very well received. Constable Leggett, and he also gave out security alarms, which was also very good. And one of the things he emphasised to they were just kids. I think the oldest was 20 and the youngest probably 14. Very well behaved, nice kids. And one of the things they emphasised to them was any issues at all, phone 101 or 999, not the international number, which I think might be 112 or something. So that was quite clear. So that was good. I'm afraid it goes a bit downhill after this because on the 12th of July, a bunch of Neds came down and tried to intimidate them and set fire to a bin outside the fence. So needless to say, they were quite scared by this, followed the orders, phoned 101, and then decided the fire was so bad that they had to phone 999. And unbelievably, nobody turned up. So that was about 11 o'clock, and by, I think, 1 o'clock, the Neds had obviously gone away by this time, and they'd managed to put the fire out themselves. Now, to be fair, I don't expect you to answer questions about the fire service. I don't think they probably asked the question of the operator, can we have a fire brigade engine? Because being French, they maybe thought, emergency services will come and that'll be it. I would kind of have thought that mentioning fire on the call might have triggered the operator to say we need to send a fire service. However, when I kind of inquired about this with Lorna Hinshelwood, who's a local sergeant for the council, she told me that the cops had been going to attend this incident, but then there'd been a fight in a pub somewhere and had to be diverted somewhere else. So my question on resource really is it the case that resource is so stretched that only 1999 emergency call can be attended at a time? Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor, for the question. In terms of the question you've asked at the end, the answer again is no. Obviously, every call that comes in is assessed. There's a model that we use called Thrive. We assess it and we deem or we rank the calls in terms of the priority. But to suggest there's only one 999 call that can be attended at any one time is not the case. In terms of the specific incident that you refer, it's something that was already flagged up to, so I'll probably come to Willie at that point because we have already looked into the call in quite some detail and can probably give you a bit more clarity around about exactly what happened.
Okay.
Hi, Councillor. From reviewing the incident on behalf, we were CC'd into the email from Lorna in consultation with yourself and carried out a full review in order to bottom out the circumstances of that particular issue. And the text of the actual initial call stated that the fire had been put out by the representatives at the location before the police were called. So I would say that would be why the fire service weren't required to attend, and that's why they weren't contacted. It is absolutely true that there was a priority call that was the cops were alerted to when they were en route to that incident, and they were subsequently diverted. And as the Chief Inspector says, that level of prioritisation will always exist. There was then a subsequent call from one of the representatives at the location at the church with the Scouts that said that the youths had now moved on. There hadn't been any further instances of disorder or trouble, and they were going to bed. They asked for extra attention at that point, and that's on the text of the call. That was then broadcast to the officers that were on duty at that time, and the incident closed off with no further reports that evening.
Are we okay with that? Okay. Kenny? Your supplementary?
I think there was, thanks, Will, I appreciate what you said. I think there was quite a gap. And to be honest, there's no point in going back now and trying to fix it. It's too late. It's gone, and the kids have gone home, and, nothing actually ended up happening. But I think just from a learning point, maybe going forward, I think there was quite a gap between the initial 999 call and the police officers considering attending, if you like. I think that's my point. And I don't think at the end of the day, maybe 2 hours, which is quite a long time. I'm not going to take over the whole meeting with this because it's done and it's gone. But if I can just make that point, it was a long time before. It would appear to have been a long time before police officers attended it, and it could have been an international incident. At the end of the day, they weren't from this country. So thanks for that.
Thanks for that, Kenny. Thanks for that, officers. Councillor Donnelly.
Thank you, Chair. I was just wondering, is it yourselves that would issue personal safety alarms to anyone that's suffering coercive control or domestic abuse for their safety?
It won't be local officers at Hamilton. That would be done through, again, we have a domestic abuse unit at Motherwell Police Office who deal with that, and it would be them that would deal with that and progress anything like that. But there is a unit specifically who will deal with serious cases of domestic abuse.
Okay.
Thanks for that. Councillor Dempsey.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And thank you, Inspector and Chief Inspector. I know you've had a bit of a hard time here, sometimes with genuine things. I just wanted to say that I was involved in looking for someone who disappeared from Uddingston 2 weeks ago, which is where I represent. I just wanted to say a great thanks to the police for the work in particular PCs 1194 and 1272, who both actually stayed on past their writing up time and were out looking for them quite late. So yeah, just thank you for the work and thank you for coming and answering questions.
Okay, thanks very much for that. Have we any further questions? I had a couple of questions to my local area, what the officers dealt with, but it might be of interest to the committee. We know at the last meeting, Councillor Keats raised the issue about the XL dogs, moving the mask on. I've asked the Chief Inspector and Inspector. Do you know Councillor Keats had contacted the police and was told it was a council responsibility? Council put it back. The officers have assured me it's a police responsibility. XL dogs going about in the community without a muzzle on. Okay? I'd just like to thank the Inspector and Chief Inspector for their time, and if they wish to leave now, we'll get on with the rest of it. Thanks very much. Okay, and we just look. Item 4, Community Development Report. Oh, you need to leave. Okay. Right, Councillor MacDonald, you may go.
Councillor MacDonald, are you staying outside for the other grants? If you're not,
Is this going to be warm? No. No.
could be.
Could be.
Mary, you shouldn't be asking for autographs.
If you're not wishing to return,
No, it's fine. I'll go to 9 days. All right? No, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, move on to John Kerr.
Aye.
We'll just wait to get it.
Okay.
Okay.
Item 4, Jen.
Hi, I'm Jen Kerr, the Community Engagement Manager, and I'm here to present an annual report, probably the first actually of its kind, on community development work that runs across our service and our team. So it's just to provide you with an overview of the work that's happened in the Hamilton locality area, in which we work in doing quite a range of activities. Excuse me. The community engagement team supports the community planning partnership in the development of local neighbourhood plans. These are neighbourhoods that are in the top 20 of the most deprived communities across South Lanarkshire. And we work in these communities alongside local residents doing neighbourhood planning processes. We work in stakeholder groups that involve different partners as well as community members, and our officers facilitate this process. And it includes community engagement, looking at information and data from services, including the police, the fire brigade, NHS, ourselves, and other community information. The process of neighbourhood planning started about 5 or 6 years ago, and we now have 9 plans in place, with some of the original ones taking place in the Hamilton area. It's currently, we've just done our newest plan as well and completed our newest plan in Hamilton South Ward, which will be presented to the Community Planning Board in September for its information. So we currently have 4 plans, one in Blantyre, which is actually a community-led plan. They developed that themselves with the Coalfield Regeneration Trust. However, it's been adopted under the community planning banner of Our Place, Our Plans, which is the other name you might know them by, and the groups that sort of come around them. And we treat that alongside other partners as a plan that we're committed to supporting because of the deprivation that it represents. The other plan is, we call it the Hub Plan. It's Hill House, Udston and Burnbank. We also have one in Strotherhill and Birkinshaw, and the newest one, like I said, in Hamilton South. And this includes 4 neighbourhoods, Fairhill, Leystonhall, sorry if I've said that wrong, Edelwood and Low Waters. And this group's been, a stakeholder group came together about a year ago and worked hard to produce this plan. It included, Fairhill had its own plan before, and they agreed to come together and amalgamate them. So they started with some of those priorities, went out and knocked on doors and asked people in the neighbourhood about other priorities, and we ran some participatory budgeting to kind of set it all off this year. So So we're really pleased that that's come together. There's an action plan in place as well behind it, and everyone's busy getting on with that. So at the end of producing these plans, we work across the year with stakeholder groups, calling in partners to the various pieces of work that they do. We also do an annual review with each stakeholder group, and we go out and we engage either through the participatory budgeting processes or door knocking or surveys to ask people if these priorities that they voted for last year are still the same ones, and often they'll change the 8 to 10 priorities they have in each of the plans. So in Hillhouse, Uddingston and Burnbank Community Action Group, or Our Place, Our Plan stakeholder group, whatever you want to call it, housing was what they agreed would be their #1 priority. So the housing providers in that area, including our own here at the council, have come together to work with that group to take forward the actions they'd like to see. There's a Hillstop Cafe, which continues to be an invaluable support for local residents, providing access to services and referrals. In Strotherhill, Birkinshaw Community Group / Our Place, Our Plan stakeholder group, they're very busy developing a community hub. Excuse me. And they've been successful in receiving some participatory budgeting funding to do this. They're really keen to increase social contact and help people access support and services in the area. It's one of the areas, though, where they would like to increase more community participation in their stakeholder group and its work. So please, if that's an area that you're active in, we'd really appreciate the support to encourage people to come along. And Blantyre, as I mentioned, has its very own community plan that it developed with the Coalfields Regeneration Trust in 2019, but is supported through the Community Planning Partnership. In the increased participation in the work of that plan and that stakeholder group through a participatory budgeting process, and most of it, and the range of asset closure announcements in that community has also kind of quite galvanised that community group and stakeholder groups, as I'm sure you're aware. If you are a representative of that area, you'll have had lots of involvement in that. The priorities that they looked at, though, for this year were kind of in line with the previous presentation around sort of community safety issues and youth activities, youth diversionary issues as well. So that's what that group will be working on as a priority this year. Annual progress reports for each of those neighbourhood plans are just about to go to community planning in next month, and we'll put them around as for information here as well to committee in future agendas once they've been through their processes. Excuse me. So the other areas that we've done work in this year is participatory budgeting and the Can Do Fund. Can Do Fund came to committee at the last round for approval of applications. And the participatory budgeting results for each of the 4 neighbourhood planning areas are listed in the paper and in the appendix for individual information on what they funded and how much and who they went to. Community asset transfers in the locality continue to be one of our busiest areas of work, and as a result of which we've undertaken a service review this year to reprioritise some staff time to that. There's an additional community asset officer now in the team. However, Ian Mulholland, the current officer, will be focusing in the Hamilton locality area just because of the size and the amount of transfers in the area, and his experience is in continuity of that is very relevant and will remain there. Ian's provided us with a list at 6.4 of the most recent inquiries. Not all of these have come to fruition or resulted in applications yet, but he's supporting a group or more with each of them, of these types of inquiries. He's also provided some information on the transfers that have taken place across this year, notably the sports barn, which then unfortunately, literally the day after the keys were handed over, was closed due to a fire. In the last year, the committee has approved 4 other additional transfers that are noted at 6.6. Another quite unique service that our team offers is a joint project with procurement that we are undertaking through the Community Wealth Building Initiatives and the Community Wealth Building Commission, which is a community wish list where we match up suppliers and small businesses in the area with things that community groups need. In some cases, it's money. In some cases, it's items, fridges, defibrillators. There's a range of examples that we've promoted through our marketing and press team that I've put in the links to if you'd like to read some of the articles around that. So we've got some books for schools, quite a bit of support to school grounds and nurseries. And actually, the shining the light, that was, we had a defibrillator, but it needed some lighting. It was an architecture firm that helped design and supply the lighting, one that had been doing some work in some of our other contracts. So it's, and they absolutely loved the opportunity, went back and helped another group willingly. didn't need to, just because they enjoyed the experience so much. So we're finding that's been really successful. And in its first year, it's currently sitting at about £50,000 of value in terms of investment and support coming from private businesses in the area and contractors to the council. And in Hamilton, that means that we've answered 21 wishes in this locality, valued worth about £10,000 of in-kind support and services. So we're quite proud of that service. It's becoming automated soon, but it's there. And if you ever get some requests from organisations for very specific things like a bench, and it's not a huge thing, encourage them to sign up to this, because we keep it open, we keep the wishes open, and procurement are continually matching alongside our community benefits commitments with organisations. We also ensure that we are period positive in the community as well as in our schools. So through our service, we provide free period products across all of South Lanarkshire. And you'll see there the amount of locations, 70 in Hamilton, and over 10,000 products provided across last year throughout community venues. With some of the changes of the halls, we're now looking to move some of those venues to health centres and are in the transition process for that. We continue to support many groups in the area with general governance, fundraising, filling in applications, usually in partnership with VASLAN and through direct referrals. But we've supported access to training and lots of guidance on just setting up and running small groups and organisations. We work in partnership with our youth, family, community learning, universal connection organisations in the area, as well as VASLAN. And we also provided an opportunity for an Activate course, which was funded by the lottery, actually, to allow community leaders to go on and learn about community development and community activism and how to make best use of things like their elected members, petitions, and other ways that they can influence change in their communities. So that we had about 5 come from the Hamilton locality and participate in that course just before the summer. So you might be hearing from some local constituents soon. We also, my last year when I came to present a report, we talked about the development of community partnerships through the community planning partnership. So these are partnerships where we bring together representatives from stakeholder groups, the 4 in the area, as well as community councils and other community activism, so that they come together and they have a sort of community space to discuss things that matter to them, the priorities and their plans, and find some commonalities across them. Each of their chairs has a place on the community planning board where they have direct access to council leaders, the chair, chief officers of the range of public sector partners that participate in community planning. So Hamilton is one of the newest of our partnerships and one of the newest one to be developing. It's had a few meetings, 3 I think up until May. It's got a 4th one coming up. This partnership has agreed so far. It's working out its terms of reference, which we'll share with you when it's completed. But it would like to involve a local third sector network that they have in the area as well in its partnership. So it's a community space. We have 2 existing partnerships in Rutherglen and Cambuslang, as well as in Clydesdale, and both these partnerships operate quite differently for different reasons and have different priorities, which they report on quarterly to the Community Planning Board through their chairs. So happy to take any questions, but that's a nice sort of summary of the range and the work of the community engagement team and what we're doing and where we're working around in communities. I would say I might not have a lot of information, detailed information on some of them, as it's quite a big team, and I'm not very knowledgeable in detail of quite a few things, but I'll do my best to answer what questions you have.
Thanks very much for that, Jen. Questions, Councillor Bert Thompson.
Is that me now? Right, thanks for the report there. Looking through it there, Blantyre seems to have done reasonably well. My concern, a couple of concerns is, first of all, the groups and community participation, etc. I've found in a long time, years ago, to say, with the SIP scheme and that, it's the same people who seem to be involved in everything, chairing it, deputy chair's representative, and they've obviously, human nature, get a wee bit self-interest, which is fair enough. But how can we get more people involved, different groups, like local clergy, for example, their fingers in the pulse of what's happening, get them involved, get the councillors involved, and maybe MPs, MSPs. That's one, how you can involve. Plus, good publicity, Tom. How can we get more good publicity? Because there's a lot of good news stories there. Get that out. And the other one would be the administration and the amount of officers. Do we justify the amount of administration, the cost, and the amount of officers we've got? Because these are things that come back to me. People ask that. How can you pay for another officer? How are they appointed? So can we justify all that? Thanks very much for that. Thanks, Chair.
Hi, if I may respond. So in terms, I'll take the publicity part. So we have a can-do community brand that we promote the work of the stakeholder groups. Again, you'll find that on the View. I can start to put some case studies and links, some of the links in, but yeah, we've got lots of participatory budgeting, lots of good news stories of the activities of the communities themselves. Again, done in partnership with council and others. So with community planning, the key thing for us is that it's done in partnership and alongside communities with another partner. In terms of the officer time, I mentioned there a review of the community engagement team. This year, we have actually reduced our neighbourhood planning team by 2 officers, one of them moving into asset transfer because of the importance of that to communities. Because now that we've completed the development of these plans, actually, this is about community empowerment, so communities themselves are taking them forward. That we have very little work in the Hamilton South Plan assigned to us. We've been very clever about what can we do for you and how can we support that. Our team's kind of moving into an enabling phase rather than a development. We're through the development now, and the idea being that we're supporting communities to make their own connections, to have their own voice through the partnerships. There should be less work for us to do in the long run, and actually our skill set may be reduced to taking minutes at meetings and organising folk to be there. And in terms of participation, that's similar across the country, and different parts of the volunteering world have looked at that, and any kind of participation in anything, even if it's just showing up for a coffee morning, is a good start. I'll take on board your notes about the other groups we may wish to involve, and we are doing a mapping exercise in each of the areas to see who else could get involved, and we're hoping that third sector network will increase that. So if we miss anyone out, please, again, ask them to get in touch with the team. Everyone's welcome. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Clark.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Certainly a lot of good stuff in the report, and thank you very much for the detailed explanation of it. I know some of the work going on in Shrotherhill and Birkinshaw. I know they're continuing to look for more ways to engage local community. But my question centres around on page 13 under period positive in community venues. 8.1 it says, period product distribution across South Lanarkshire continues to grow and expand, with demands for products increasing each year since the start of the project in 2019. I'm wondering, do we know how much that demand has been increasing? How much is that increase year on year? And do we ever foresee an issue at some point in the future of our capacity to provide for that increase in demand? If we have that information to hand.
Jen?
We do have that information. We're actually just looking at analysing it at the moment. We can happily bring that back to you. Would you like that just for the Hamilton area or for all of the areas? Not a problem.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Councillor Dempsey. Oh, sorry. Councillor Dempsey, can you press your request again, please? That's him, that's you, Councillor.
Brilliant. I don't know where I get cut off, so you'll get to me to start again. At 10.2, I see there's reference to the work to develop the community partnerships in Bothwell and Uddingston. I agree with Councillor Thompson's point about getting local elected members involved, because we will help you find those local community groups that you're mapping. Additionally, 6.4, there's obviously the mention of the community, of the community asset transfers, including both Uddingston and Bothwell community halls. Last I heard before the summer recess, the halls under SLLC management were due to close imminently. I know Bothwell Hall's handover was delayed due to the general election, needing it to be a polling place, and also some admin issues. Could you give us an update on the community asset transfers listed? Because I don't know when that list was produced, and let us know whether the halls will remain open until those transfers are complete. Yeah, thank you.
Hi, thanks. That's a very good question. So 6.4 is a list of people, of halls that have had inquiries. There are obviously other properties in the area. They're all at different stages. Some of them are more firm than others, and we are supporting. So in our team, we have the liaison officer role. So we're one of many services across the council that support asset transfer. So we've got property and lawyers, and so some of them are under negotiation, which is why we haven't put private, detailed information into the paper. I can come back to you with some updates on what's what and what's where, but it could change from week to week, and I think that's the nature of the hall work at the moment. And again, your last question about the closure dates and things, that's probably not something for that our service could answer. We get the same question from the communities we're liaising with, and I would request that maybe I can take that back to the working group, the asset transfer working group, and see if they can provide an answer for that for you, which is where all the different council departments come together around that. Is that okay?
Right, thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Councillor McCready.
Thanks, Chair. Jennifer, just for your knowledge, both Bothwell and Unningston have quite vibrant community councils, and they always appreciate visitors coming along. I don't recall during my time of office having anybody from community development coming along to them. Now, I recognise that you wouldn't want to come to everyone, but I guess I'm extending an invitation on behalf of the chairs that if you wanted to come along to these or one of your team, I'm sure you'd be welcome. In fact, it would probably help you a bit as well. I suppose the clues in the title, isn't it? Community development and community council seems to go quite well together. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Thanks for that. Councillor Mary Donnelly.
No change. Thank you, Chair. Yes, Jennifer, thank you very much for this very, very informative report. I think it's excellent that you're bringing this forward to Hamilton Area Committee, and I know the team are working flat out to deliver on behalf of the community. I would like to add my wee sadness that your group was decreased in numbers, which then stretches the members of the team and the work that we are expecting them to do. So my condolences for that, and I'm really sorry that they ended up being decreased, because they do amazing work. I'm involved in the OPOP in Hill House, and I noticed here, I don't know if it's a correction or not, but I noticed in your list you had St John Ogilvie High Parent Council Exam Study Support Programme for Vulnerable Young People in the school. That came under the Hill House OPOP. So they're not in Blantyre, they're Nudston, which is part of Hill House. That's just, I could be wrong, but that would be worth a check for your references. And also to say that the Hill House Residents and Tenants Group, they recently had a fun day in the 10th there. They got money from OPOP and they put it towards their fun day, which was absolutely amazing. It had the Provost there, the MSP, Christina McKelvey, myself as a councillor, Alan was there as well. And you missed the photo shoot, Alan. Sorry about that, but we had.
Don't look me, Mary.
But Tom, just for your reference, there's a lot of photographs for us, to use from the fund day that would be quite good for the view. And if we're circulating that, that would be really helpful for the Hill House residents and tenants group, for that to be circulated. And I think also, Jennifer, I don't know if you're aware, but they have monthly meetings. So it might be, I don't know if Anne's comes to the meeting, I don't think she does, but it might be quite useful for the engagement team for Anne to actually attend one meeting or something, just to keep that link in, although I know quite a lot from that group do attend the OPOP meeting. They also, the other, on the same day, which was very, very colourful in Hill House and very, very well attended as well, was the Indian charity were holding a festival to raise money for India, because as Hill House is, India is also a very poor country. Hill House is not a country, but we are still very, very poor, and we're in the SIMD, is it? So Alan always corrects it about that. So we are in the what we used to call it the area priority treatment, and that means the same. Also within your report, on the wish list, the wish list, the parent council that got 1,500 was Neilsland Primary, which was in our area, and I know they put that money to really good use for books to boost the the learning community within that school, and it's a great school and it's thriving, and that is obviously going to add. I mean, the other items from the wish list was helping bring to school grounds. That was Calderside Nursery, and the nursery restoring a garden. And also, I want to give a shout out for the wish list, shine light on potential lifesaver. I can tell you, the first week of that being installed, the defibrillator in the church in Blantyre, it saved a life. So there you go. And I've got shivers because, we're fighting now for Hill House to get one, Alan and I, and we're working with community groups to put an application in and obviously put the word out that we need the votes for that to be supported within the community within OPOP. And that's definitely, that application's been drawn up, Alan, by SOC. They are going to run with that for us. So, and I think that's all my... Yes, I'd like to say 9.4. The lottery funded an Activate course enabling local activists to take part in a certified course in community work. I think that has to be commended, because the point you're making, Bert, we're getting more activists within if they can apply for that Activate course, and that might give them an introduction into going to university to go further with community work. Very important to get them on board.
Community council, for example, the first step of government, and it's important that we, as Alan pointed out, it's important that we do that and we consult as much as possible, and get community involved, and the diversity as well is very important. As I say, churches, chapels, local police, attending things and being there is so important.
But the 5th year programme, I know there was activists within Hill House did it a few years ago, and they're still active and still the voice within that community. So it's an excellent course, and I would encourage any individual that's a volunteer to get involved and join, get in touch with the team and get them to make application. to go forward. But again, Jennifer, thank you, and take my thanks back to your team.
Could I just, as the chair, address, so we don't come back to how it's... I attended the OPOP meeting yesterday, and there was 8 staff and only 2 groups there. And one of the groups was the tenants group, who didn't refuse, but didn't put a defibrillator on their wish list. We have the SOC group, which is Mark Rouse's group, who attended a community thing me through the community activity programme. They've put in for a defibrillator, as we have. One of the other points I'm seeing with Hull House, when I look at the front, in Hull House, and I've been through SIP, urban age, regeneration, our place, our plan, we're still an area there. All we've done is we've lost a secondary school, we've lost a nursery, we've lost a residential home, we've lost 2 day centres, then they gave us a crematorium. Right? We're now going to lose the library, which is a part-time work that's only open, which I think is disgraceful. When I look here and see that Hull House in 5-4 gets 7 grand, which is a third of the next grant, you know, there's something wrong with the participation there. And I spoke to Anne on it. We need to activate this. The other thing I'm quite worried in the whole paper is we've got a paper coming next week at social work where we have shut 9 day centres for elderly people. There is no much mention of elderly groups or that in there, and the support that they should have and need it, an important bit of your community. And it's something maybe we could sit and have a talk with Mary and that about the area, because we've got a lot of elderly people there, and we've withdrew the services. That's just my general view. But I concur with Mary's points, but I don't want that minuted. Right, okay, who's next? John Ross, what a follow-up act. John? Can you press in again, John, please? That's you, John. Okay.
Right, thanks. I'll repeat what I just said for clarity, Alan. I'm probably going to agree with some of the things that you just said, but I don't want that minuted for clarity either. I'd like to thank Jen for her report and for all the people that actually work in that group. They do a marvellous job. However, I've got quite a lot of criticism coming here. Not for the group themselves, but obviously as far as Hamilton South is concerned, all of the area is within the ward that I represent. When we started this initially, the idea was to find areas that we thought had a common interest, and we started with Fairhill, our place, our plan, and that was a big enough area. And then we decided we were going to try and take in Edelwood, nothing in common with the people of Fairhill. And then we decided to take in Low Waters, nothing in common with other 2 areas. And now the whole area has been taken into consideration. Like you, I attend the OPOP meetings, and there's lucky if there's an outside group at all turn up. It's all officials. And I really, quite honestly, although we've had very good people working within the community team, again, there is a lack of consistency in the length of time that people stay, because it's not an easy job trying to bring together all these communities, especially when they've got such diverse interests. I don't know where we go with this. I would love to see more community spirit. I would love to see us being able to attract more people to this. But to me, at the present time, it tends to be a couple of self-interest groups. Have obviously got an interest in what's happening with their part of the community, but we're not getting enough buy-in from all the members. I mean, if you look at the number of residents that are covered by Edelwood, Fairhill, Low Waters, etc., it's a huge number of people, and yet we can't get more than 2 or 3 people turning up to represent the communities at any one time. And I really don't know where we go here about trying to encourage more people to come forward. It's a very hard task, but we really need to look at other ways. Obviously, we're not putting enough money into this, and we're not getting enough people in the team. How that's resolved, that's another story altogether. Maybe we should write to Labour government, see if they'll give the Scottish Government more money, but we'll not go down that road just now. I'll not take that far. Thanks very much, Alan.
Right, thanks, John. Okay. Councillor Andy Carmichael.
Sorry, Chair, that.
Do you want to be back in, Andy? No. Kenny McCreary. Kenny?
Hi, thanks, Chair. Apologies, Jennifer. It might be my fault, but I was kind of hoping for a response to my earlier invitation to the community councils.
Jennifer's nodding. She'll arrange for somebody to attend.
All right, okay.
Will you send the transport? Yes. Okay, thanks for that, Kenny. Councillor Donnelly, he wants to be back in.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just to say, I think we have to look at this in a different way. If you're expecting the community to turn up to an OPOP meeting, I don't think you're going to get them, as you're not getting them. I think we have to go to the people. And I think when you did it before and asking people what was their needs, what was their ask within their community, and had coffee and biscuits or sandwiches, and that got them in, and that was an event that I know got people interested in Hill House, it got people interested in Burnbank. So I think we need to think about how we do this ask, and we need to be a wee bit more creative in that concept. That's my first point. My second point is, you can correct me, Bert, I don't know if it's happening in Blantyre, but in Hill House and in Burnbank, there is hubs. Now, in those hubs, in Burnbank, it's every Friday. In Hill House, it's every Wednesday. And they have money matters, they have housing, community links, and I have a surgery in Hill House once a month. And also, my other wee kick I'll make, Hill House has got 4 councillors. We could all take a turn and being there for people, because you're not there representing your party, you're representing the community that you are elected to support. So I think we need to look at things differently and open up and be broader minded in how we do this. I don't know how the setup is in Blantyre, but I think there must be a hub where you could be going and you could be having a surgery there during the day. No this dreek at night in a hall and nobody's coming out at night, because I wouldn't come out at night either. So that's that point. So I think we need to explore. Hill House is absolutely full of the gudgels. Every week you've got the senior citizens, you've got mums, single mums, because we also have a stall with clothes on it, and you just, no cost, you just take, if you like that blouse or you like that jumper, then you just take it. People are actually using it now and dropping off dishes, kitchen utensils, everything. And they're coming in and people are then saying, oh, I need that air fryer, or I need this. And it's the same, and they get a food parcel as well. And they're getting that in Burnbank too. Now, Colin, is it okay to say Colin? Colin's got a surgery in Burnbank. So, we need to go to the people. Don't think the people aren't going to come to you, Bert. So, turn our thinking around and start thinking, where are the people meeting? Let's go. That's my rant.
Thanks for that, Mary. Sorry. That's Maureen. Councillor Chalmers.
Chair, thank you. hopefully I can be heard. I know it's been quite off and on, the kind of reception here today. Anyway, so I just wanted to build, first of all, huge thank you. Never ever never thought I would see a community development report coming to a South Lanarkshire Council meeting. So thank you for that, Jennifer. That is just fantastic. I just want to go back to the community development and some of the comments made by colleagues, in particular Councillor Ross. So I think one of the things that did start a wee back, I was involved in some of this obviously a few years ago, we did say we would start with what people define as their own community and would build on that and give people control and encouragement and empowerment within their own community, and that gradually people might want to come together with others to work together, but that would be something they would choose to do. So it does hugely concern me that over the last 3-4 years that we've actually seen people kind of move. I'm not going to say forced to move, because obviously no, but that might be something to do with it. If you're not in your own local group, your identified community, then do you really want to go and be part of a bigger group without that building of relationships, building of common cause and purpose? In Blantyre, we did start with that community-owned plan, and for a whole range of reasons, you know, that can then get diverted into being what we still call Blantyre Futures, but more of the Our Place, Our Plan format. And you know, the Blantyre Futures meetings are reasonably well attended. There's a reasonable broad range of people that come from more kind of formal organisations and community organisations. But actually what's built that group in the last few months is actually the concerns around community halls and libraries, because people are now seeking out the support and want to work with others because of what's happening in communities. And there's a reluctance, I think, you know, why would we work with the council? Why would we work with folk when, you know, we seem to be working against the tide? But I think just back to the community development work, I think with community development, we start where people are, just what Mary was saying. So we might have to do a piece of work around that to build confidence and make sure people can work together. My final point would be, I've always been against a Hamilton-wide, added Hamilton, Larkhall, Blantyre, Bothwell, Uddingston planning partnership. It's far too big, it's far too diverse. And I said this years ago, that we needed, if we were going to get to that point, we would need to build slowly towards it. I think it'd be difficult. It's nothing against those. There's some great communities. I know some of the work they're doing are fantastic, but we're almost forcing people to work together at a stage where, you know, they're not really ready to work together, or they maybe don't want to, they maybe don't see the relevance of it. Just because that's the way the council organises doesn't mean to say it's the way that communities need to organise. So I think we just need to be a bit thinking about some of those things, because I'm really concerned about the low. I mean, there's 17,500 people in Blantyre, and there's maybe 20 people come along to a regular meeting. In terms of the PB work, again, really low uptake on and take part in that. It takes lots and lots of encouragements to get folk to come forward with ideas, but actually the voting is really poor as well. So we need to do more work with communities and a community development approach to get folk more engaged in this, because the rewards would be huge if we can just take 2 steps back and then work forward again. So thank you. And the work of the community engagement team is fantastic. I know many of them. I know their expertise and their skills are huge. I just think we're kind of maybe need to take a step or two back to go forward. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks for that, Maureen. Councillor Thompson.
Right, thank you. Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Maureen. You get a good point, and thanks yourself. I've got an affinity with Hill Houses. That's where I was born. And obviously, I know just how bad things were, and I still are. No an area where a lot happens, a lot of money in that, and I know it's not for the want of yourself and your colleagues trying there. I know you have got a great passion for your area. Anyway, I've found that I've held a lot of meetings over 24 years now nearly, and what I've done is people are interested basically in themselves. I've got some that interest them, like the crematorium thing a few years ago, like some proposal of housing or whatever. People will come, if it interests them, they're selfish, they'll come, and they'll come in numbers. So to get them there, it must some interest them. If you can tell them, this has got to benefit you. So how do you do that? You invite people along, like, well, I just did a couple of things. I invited them to the social workers there, the housing, antisocial behaviour, money matters, Terminal 1, that. a whole plethora of people come along, and there's certainly some people interested in one of the things or two things. The wee stalls, it gave them a time to explain what they do and to sell themselves, basically. And it was good for all of us, and the 3 councillors there, whatever. They had the surgery there as well, so you could see and if the MSP comes along as well. So the more the merrier, but you're right, it's things, taking it to them. The 2 things that come to mind, and I've been at them and attended them, was the welfare bingo. Massive, a couple hundred people. It's always good to bring in there. So you take your everything to that, new people joining you, showing interest. Also up the pensioners hall, where Maureen will know about as well. They go to the bingo, they're interested. So they're there anyway, captive audience, you go, and I always got like saying them a few jokes, etc. But that's it. Take it to the people, and it is about the community, and I like the passion you've shown today that we've all shown. So thanks again.
Great. Okay. Item 5, community grant applications. We've no much money left. Okay, we've got community grant applications. We've 10 community grant applications detailed at section 2.1. Lynn, would you like to speak on them?
The purpose of the report is to request approval for the allocation of community grants in the Hamilton area committee area from the 24-25 community grant budget as set out at 2.1 in the report. The committee is asked to approve the following recommendations at 2.1, and I'm happy to provide any further information and answer any questions. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Have we any questions on the grants? We agree to approve the grants? Agreed. Thank you very much, Ross. Approved, seconded. That's done. Item 6, urgent business. I've no note of any other urgent business. So I thank you all for attending. Take care. And I'll turn my mic off. And I'll see you at the next Sports Council meeting. Yes, thanks a lot.
Oh, thank you. You're very patient. Thank you.